Welcome to Mindful Matters, the podcast where calm conversation meets everyday life. Let's take a breath and begin.
Welcome back to Mindful Matters. Being mindful matters. As always, I have a subject here on co-occurring disorders. Co-occurring mental health disorders. Most common mental health co-occurring disorders. I want to dive into this. The core idea, when two disorders appear together, they don't simply add up. Okay, they interact, intensify, and reshape how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Okay, these are going to be most common combinations from research and study. Anxiety plus depression. Okay, why they occur. They share genetic, neurological, and stress-related pathways. And how this combination affects a person. Okay. They feel restless, overwhelmed, yet also exhausted and unmotivated. They want to do things but feel paralyzed by fear. They may appear lazy, but intentionally they are fighting two battles. I'm scared something will go wrong. I don't have the energy to try it. That's anxiety and depression. Okay, ADHD and anxiety. Why they occur. ADHD creates unpredictability. Anxiety tries to control it. Okay, how this combination affects a person. Okay, they overthink everything because they can't trust their focus. Okay, they procrastinate not from laziness but from fear of messing up. They may appear dramatic, but they're actually overwhelmed by racing thoughts, sensory overload, fear of forgetting something important. ADHD and depression. Okay, why they occur. Years of feeling behind, misunderstood, or inconsistent can lead to hopelessness. How this combination affects a person. They feel mentally scattered and emotionally drained. They want to improve but feel defeated by repeated failures. They may say some things like, why try? I'll mess up anyway. I've had that feeling. PTSD and anxiety. Okay, why they occur. Trauma keeps the nervous system stuck in survival mode. How this combination affects a person. They are constantly on edge, scanning for danger. Small triggers can cause big reactions because the brain thinks the threat is still happening. They may avoid places, people, or conversations that feel unsafe. Yeah, that's a fact. I see things in a few people, and you understand them. You can socialize and help them out, especially when they ask for help and they open up to you, and and uh, want your opinion or uh, just need consoled. Um, okay, PTSD and depression. Why they occur. Trauma can create both fear and emotional shutdown. How this combination affects a person. Okay, they feel numb, disconnected, or hopeless. They may isolate because the world feels unsafe and exhausting. Yeah, they struggle with guilt, shame, or self-blame. Okay, here's one that I experience, but I can control it. Um, you know, uh, I have my ways, and I do pretty well. Bipolar and anxiety. Why they occur. Mood instability increases fear of losing control. And how this combination affects a person. Okay. During mania, anxiety becomes agitation, racing thoughts, impulsive decisions. During depression, anxiety becomes rumination, fear, and withdrawal. They may appear unpredictable, but internally they're trying to stabilize two competing systems. Okay, bipolar disorder and ADHD, why they occur. Both affect impulse control, energy, and emotional regulation. How this combination affects a person. They may swing between hyperactive and shutdown states. That takes a lot of energy. They struggle to separate mood symptoms from attention symptoms. They may be misdiagnosed because the conditions mimic each other. It's that goes back to a lot of these aren't treated together. That's another story, and I'll do that another time. How things aren't uh, most likely aren't treated together in the co-occurring. Most of the time your doctor and your therapist is only concentrating on one disorder. So which that's another video segment. Autism and anxiety, why they occur. Sensory overload and social uncertainty equals chronic stress. How this combination affects a person. They fear unpredictable environments. Okay, they may mask their discomfort until they melt down later. See, that goes back to children masking in school. If your child comes home from school and they're happy, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. But most times, a lot of children will come home tired and cranky, and appearing to be overwhelmed with something. That's because they masked all day due to some social anxiety and masking for whatever reason. Okay. They struggle with transitions, noise, crowds, or change in routine. That was autism and anxiety. Okay, autism and ADHD. I see this. Why they occur. Both involve neurodevelopmental differences in attention, sensory processing, and regulation. How this combination affects a person. They may appear inattentive, impulsive, or rigid. They struggle with emotional regulation and sensory overwhelm. They may have explosive reactions when demands exceed capacity. Okay. Borderline personality disorder plus anxiety or depression. Why they occur. Emotional dysregulation increases vulnerability to mood symptoms. Okay. Why they occur. How this combination affects a person. Okay, they feel emotions intensely and fear abandonment. Anxiety amplifies emotional swings. Depression deepens feelings of emptiness and rejection. OCD and anxiety. Why they occur. Okay, OCD is driven by anxiety. Compulsions are attempts to reduce it. How this combination affects a person. They feel trapped in cycles of fear and ritual. They know the thoughts are irrational but cannot stop them. Anxiety spikes when they try to resist compulsions. Yeah. Eating disorders and anxiety or depression. Why they occur. Food becomes a coping mechanism for emotional pain. Okay, how this combination affects a person. They use restriction, binging, or purging to manage distress. Depression fuels hopelessness. Anxiety fuels control behaviors. Okay, they often hide the symptoms due to shame. Why these combinations matter. Co-occurring disorders change the entire clinical picture. Symptoms overlap. One disorder masks another. Treatment must be integrated. Okay, behavior becomes confusing without context. The person often feels misunderstood or mislabeled. Treating only one disorder leaves the person stuck. Treating both creates a real change. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I have some resource links that I will post with this if anyone is interested in learning to help themselves, help others. So have a good day. Stay safe and peaceful.